we're finally having the Mexborough and Swinton Astronomical Society Imaging Competition that should have happened in 2020. So I'm told. This has been an event that has been in our calendar for many a year now. I can't remember exactly how many. Probably 20 years, less, 15, thereabouts anyway. Doesn't really matter. But it has caused quite a lot of frivolity over the years when somebody would be asked to put in a series of 3 images and then put perhaps a 5-minute video in, Nicholls, to name but one. But it soon sorted the wheat from the chaff. And Mick was a contestant who always seemed to come third for some reason. It was as though the numbers were fixed. But I don't think we never know this year. He may have risen to the top of the pile, like a good pudding. So please, everybody, welcome the contestants who this year are members and non-members. Thank you very much.
Okay, how's that?
Marvelous. Perfect.
Okay, so welcome to Mexborough and Swinton's Astronomical Society Annual Image Competition 2021, and this is the COVID edition. So the rules of the competition, we've got 2 classes, non-members and members. Everybody in tonight's meeting is allowed to vote in each of the categories. We've asked people to enter with 3 images showing a breadth of their work, 1 vote per class, and each winner will receive a gift voucher. So our non-members competition, thank you very much for all our visitors who have put in an entry. So what I'll do is I'll ask Gary Foord if he can unmute himself. Gary, can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, done that. Thank you.
And we're going to give you about 40 seconds on each of the images. All right?
Okay. Yeah, no worries.
So, our first entrant then is Gary Foord. And here we go.
Hello. All right. Hello, everyone. This is the partial solar eclipse that happened back earlier in the year on the 10th of June, taken from my backyard. It was done using a 40mm Coronado PST hydrogen alpha solar telescope and with my Sony a6000 mirrorless camera. It was on a Skywatcher tracking mount, and that's the result of a single image that was half a second long on ISO 2000. I stacked it a few times in Photoshop and did some layer blending to give it a bit more prominence and enhance the features. On the left-hand side, you can see a couple of prominences, sort of 11 o'clock and sort of 8 o'clock as you look at the picture. And that was about 50 minutes after first contact, after the moon made its first contact. So almost halfway through, if I remember right. And yeah, not to say single image, simple processing, and that was that. So it gives me a warm glow even when I look at it now. So I'm quite warm as it is.
Okay.
Right, second picture. This is a composite of 4 separate images. Obviously Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus and Neptune as we go bottom left to top right. The picture of Neptune was taken back in 24th of August. That of Jupiter and Saturn was taken around the 28th, 29th of August, and Uranus was the last one on the 23rd of September. Again, taken from my backyard, this time using my 8-inch LX200 SCT on a wedge with a 2.25 Barlow and a ZWO camera, a 183 MC, and a ZWO ADC, atmospheric dispersion corrector. It was each image was taken as a video. Jupiter and Saturn were about 2,500 frames, reduced to the 15% of the best of those. Uranus and Neptune, again, about 30% of the best 500 frames. Again, loaded into Photoshop, a bit of layer blending, obviously a composite of 4, so I had to load 4 separate images and blend them together. Yeah, I think, and then the image at the front with Jupiter, you can just see Io's shadow actually in transit. I haven't got the moon on this one, just the shadow. Okay, that's that one. Right, image number 3. So this was taken back in October 17th. Actually, that night was the, I think it was International Observe the Moon night, if I'm not mistaken. So I took a sequence, when I do the moon with my small spotting scope, I've got a 90mm, 1200mm focal length Celestron C90. I usually take 10 shots and stack them together just to reduce the noise. On one of the shots, a flock of birds went across. So I had the fun of taking the 9 shots without the birds and the one with and combining them to best effect. Again, taken in my backyard. I used PIP to process the images, centering and converting from raw to TIFF. I used Deep Sky Stacker to align them. I think, did I use them? I can't remember now. Yeah, and Registacks to do the wavelet sharpening and Photoshop to do some blending. But some people said, are they bats? And I said, no, they're definitely birds, because I saw a whole flock of them traveling north to south on a few earlier occasions. So that's my last one, Birds Across the Moon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gary.
Okay.
And Peter Lloyd. Can you unmute yourself, Peter?
Yes, thank you, Paul. Good evening, everybody. The pictures you'll see from me are quite simple compared with the ones you've just seen, but they represent some achievement for me in any case. Can we go on to the first one? Yes, a fairly simple, straightforward picture of Jupiter with 3 of his Galilean satellites. There's nothing particular to say about this one. It was taken with a 5-inch MSAS telescope with a small chip. It's the I've forgotten, the DFK 21AF CCD camera from the imaging source. It's a fairly old camera now. It has a scale of 640 by 480 pixels. That particular image is, of course, a composite. The planet is stacked from 711 individual frames, the satellites from 164 separate ones, which are much longer exposure to bring it out. But I thought they blended together quite well. I had hoped to produce a picture with a shadow on it, but that, I have one, but it wasn't as good as this one. So we got this one. And I'm really quite pleased with this one because it represents 2 experiments that all running together. I had a DSLR on my Ritchie Chrétien telescope because I was concentrating at the time on the whole moon pictures similar to the ones that John Leach does so well. And I had that up on the mount, and this was sort of new moon, so there was nothing to see there. So I decided to try it on a DSL, a deep sky object, and this is M51. And unusually for me, I've allowed it to be quite small and to set it in its sort of star field. In the past, I've tended to try and make it full size, and it usually doesn't work too well. It's a double experiment for me, in that this was the first time I had done guiding with an off-axis guider, which I'd only bought a few days before, and this is my first attempt of it. So I was quite pleased with that, and also the first attempt at a DSO with a DSLR. So I'm really quite pleased with the way it worked out in the end. And finally, I was really delighted with this picture until I saw the one that Gary has just produced. Of course, Saturn's been very difficult this year. It's very low in the sky. And this one was an experiment from my point of view in that I used the drizzling technique for the first time on Saturn. And that's actually a stack of 3,449 frames, drizzled ×2 to increase the resolution. And it got me a reasonably large image, which at least the Cassini division is visible in part of the ring. I felt quite pleased with it, and it worked out, I thought, quite well.
Thank you, Peter. Now, as I've said, David Crane is and his wife is they're travelling this evening. David's asked Trevor Worrall if he'll cover for him. So, Trevor, can you unmute yourself, please?
Yes, unmuted.
Okay, and just give me a moment. Trevor, can you unmute yourself again, please?
Testing 1, 2.
That's lovely. Are we ready?
Yeah. Bubble. Let me just turn to the second page. Hang on. Yeah. Okay. Bubble nebula. The bubble in the center has been caused by a really quite large hot star, and the jets interacting with the stellar dust causing this apparent bubble. It represents about 10 hours of red, green, blue, and luminance imaging, and something like half HA blended together in Astro pixel processor and Photoshop. It took about 100 subs and calibration frames to achieve this on an HEQ5 with an 80mm TS photoline telescope. That's it. Okay.
Okay.
Right, M43. David's took approximately 8 hours of imaging on this one, red, green, and blue, and HA, and blended them together. 122 subs and calibration frames in total. It's a star forming area in Orion, quite close to the edge of the Great Orion Nebula. Discovered by a French astronomer, Mayran, in 1731, and catalogued by Messier as M43 in 1769. This was also taken with his 80mm TS photoline scope and obviously a filter wheel to produce the image. That's that one. Jellyfish Nebula, IC443. It's got 6 hours of data on this in red, green, and blue, and HA, hydrogen alpha. 61 subs in total. Taken halfway up a mountain in southern Spain called the Cabrera mountain range. Let's see, it's apparently 5,000 light years distant, and it was a supernova remnant, I think I've already mentioned. The star that caused it was something like 8 times that of our own sun. It's not clear who discovered it originally, but there's 2 guys that keep popping up, Maximilian Wolf and Edward Bernard. 2 was taken with his 80mm TS photoline. That's that one.
Okay. Right then, Trevor.
Okay.
Let you gather yourself for a moment for yours.
Right, quick slurp of tea.
Right.
Ready?
They don't have this on the BBC, you know. Right, here we go.
Okay, Bode's Galaxy, approximately 12 million light years away. It was taken with my 80mm Skywatch Esprit refractor and an SBIG 8300 cooled camera on my Ioptron SEM 60 mount. The images were processed with PixInsight. This image is a stack of LRGB, 38 frames each, 6 minutes, individual subs, making a 3.8 hour stack. Yeah, that's all on that one, I think. Yeah. Let's get this one. All right, just a sec. Yeah, this is NGC 1333, I believe. I've got this wrong around. Taken with an 80mm Esprit. This one is a mammoth test of endurance. It was 239 frames, 6 minutes each, making just under 24 hours of exposure. Processed in PixInsight. And this is located in the northern constellation of Perseus. Yeah, so that's that one. Yeah. And the final one. This is in the constellation of Orion, taken with my 80mm refractor. It's just sort of north of the Witchhead Nebula. Just looked a little bit unusual. So I did an LRGB stack of 200 frames, 6 minutes each, making 20 hours in total, processed with PixInsight. And it's just a really interesting area of interstellar dust and activity. I think William Herschel discovered this one in 1786. And as I say, it's near the Witchhead Nebula if anybody wants to have a pop at it. And that's that one, Paul. Thank you.
Thank you, Trevor.
Okay.
And Robert Lyons, can you unmute yourself, please, sir?
Right. Hello, everybody.
Hello, Robert. Are we ready?
I'm indeed.
Okay.
Right. This one here is the so-called Tadpole Nebula, IC410. I took this with an APM refractor with a QHY9 mono camera with HA and RGB filters. I had very limited imaging time for this, so I did it. All the images were binned 2 by 2, so this image is just the result of 5 HA frames at 5 minutes, and then 5-minute frames for the red, green, and blue. The HA is used as the luminance and also combined with the red channel, so that everything sort of matches. So, considering that is the result of quite short exposures, I'm really quite pleased with it. Now, this one here is the Cat's Eye Galaxy M94. Now, the center of the galaxy is quite bright and is quite an easy target, but this galaxy has a very faint outer halo, and my object here was to try and capture this very faint outer halo. So I've processed it. I think if you look at it very carefully, you can indeed see a very faint halo around the galaxy, which makes it extend quite far. And interestingly, some very high resolution imaging has recently been done on this galaxy, and it turns out that this very faint outer halo is in fact spiral arms, which is rather interesting. So so that's that one. And then this one is the Tulip Nebula. The reason I took this was that I'm trying to find the limits of my observing site, because I observe from a urban site and the light pollution is getting ever worse. And so I chose something very faint. And in fact, this nebula was so faint, I had to rely upon my go-to system in order to get it into the field of view. And this was taken with, where are we? I had 59 5-minute sub-exposures of hydrogen alpha, and then RGB, processed in Nebulosity, MaximDL, and Photoshop. And I think that probably represents about the limit of what I can do from my particular observing site. Right, so that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Robert. And for our non-members portion of the evening, finally, Rachel. Rachel, can you unmute yourself, please?
Yep, I'm good.
Okay, are we ready?
Yeah. Yeah, okay, so this is the North American Nebula, NGC 7000. We took this in June, I think, I remember, and all of our stuff mostly is taken from our back garden in Doncaster. And this one was only 2 hours and 10 minutes, and I was almost not sure whether to even process it at all, because I thought we wouldn't have really got much, but I was really surprised how much we got out of it. We use a Skywatcher ED80, and we image with AZWO-ASI 294 MC Pro, but we always use an enhanced filter. So what I tend to do is split the channels, extract the channels in APP, take out the hydrogen alpha, take out the oxygen, and then reblend them together with a synthetic green made of a blend of the two. And for every image that we've probably entered in here, it'll be the same process. So I won't keep repeating that. And our imaging kit stays the same as well. This one we didn't take at home. We went on a honeymoon sort of anniversary trip to Suffolk, and we were really lucky that we were in a Bortle 4 sky, and one night was clear, so we got the telescope out and had a go at Andromeda with our new kit. So this one, I think, I had it written down, it's around 4 hours exposure. This one, because of how bright the core is, we normally do 5-minute subs, but we went for a sort of a 2.5 minute sub, and then a couple of 30 seconds to control the core, and again blended these all together in Photoshop. And obviously this is the Horsehead Nebula in Orion. I was really conscious with this because a lot of the other images we tend to blow Alnitak out, so I really wanted to control that star in this one. And this one we imaged under a full moon, and again I think that's why I pushed the process in so bizarrely for this one, because we thought the moon would have ruined it all. So I just thought, you know what, I'm going to push it to its limits and just see what I get, and we ended up with this really nice pastel version that I'd never seen before. So I quite liked this one because I think it stood out from the usual hydrogen alpha red ones that I'd ever seen before, even though it's a little bit quirky. I know it's an acquired taste. And this one was 6 hours total, which is 5 hours with the L enhance, and then we did an additional hour just with a pure hydrogen alpha filter and blended that over the top as a luminance layer.
Thank you, Rachel. And so we're going to have a couple of minutes. Oh, you're going to get about half a minute to vote. And then,
Paul,
yes.
Paul, I'm just thinking, everybody else gets one vote, but there's 3 of us here on one computer.
Will you then
I'll take
message? Will you take a poll down there and message me the results, and I'll do the processing of that.
Okie dokie, Paul.
Okay, can you message me peer-to-peer? Okay, so
Paul, sorry, could you just remind me who it was that whose pictures it was that Trevor talked about?
It was David Crane.
Thank you.
Paul, how do we vote?
I'm going to tell you in a moment. We're going to do a online vote, and hopefully you can see a voting. We now move on to Mexborough and Swinton members' images. So, gentlemen, and it is a gentleman, unfortunately, we are starting with John Leach, and then Michael Nicholls, to give him his Sunday name, followed by Tom Wade and Roy Gunson. Okay, John, can you unmute yourself?
Yes, Tom, yep.
Okay, and here we go.
Right, okay, this is image number 1. It's the waxing gibbous moon, and it was taken on the 14th of November 2021 at 7 p.m. With an illumination of 81.5% and an altitude of 28.81. No telescope involved. 3 telescopes, very rarely use them. So this was taken with an Olympus OMD AM1 Mark III plus the Olympus 300mm Pro lens, plus an Olympus 2x extender. And for any information about the moon surface, refer to Roy Gunson or Peter Lloyd. Next one, please. Right, okay, this is a composite image showing 3 of the Gemini meteors. And these were captured between 12:30 AM and 1:30 AM on the 14th of December 2020. The equipment was the Olympus same camera, but with the Olympus 12mm to 40mm Pro lens. And this was set at 12mm, so in real money it's 24mm lens. And it's the focusing on this was actually done by the Olympus's inbuilt Starry Sky AF system. So, you know, that takes care of the focusing. The bottom, you see, they're actually, because there are 15-second exposures, we've got this nice sort of movement of the clouds down towards Earth. It helps, I think, in the effects. Next one. Yeah, as many will know, I often photograph the moon. If it's there in the night, I'll have a go. This was early in the morning. This was just turned 7 o'clock in the morning on the 12th of November. And again, it's using the Olympus EM1 Mark III plus the 300mm lens and the extender. And this actually really took me by surprise, because I was actually checking the focusing when suddenly this plane shot across. And it's looking at the past image, it's surprising just how many times you get photobombed nearby planes or birds. And that's it, the final one.
Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Okay, Mick Nicholls, can you unmute yourself, please, sir?
Yep, done it.
Okay, Mick, are we ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is Comet Neowise, taken with me Canon EOS 1100D, which is now committed Harry Carey, and I no longer have. The image on the left, I think, was about a 200mm lens, doing short exposures, because I wasn't guiding at all, I wasn't tracking. So I did short exposures, and I think I stacked about 4 or 5 for each of the images. The image on the right, I think, was probably about 75mm, something like that. But from Century Sheffield, I'm quite pleased with that. You can see it tail, but you can't see the actual gas tail that what other people were getting, but you see it does tail quite well. Next one, please, Paul. This was taken with me a smartphone. It's a single image. Noctilucent cloud there, and to the right of that and above, you'll see a little white streak, and that's the actual comet. So to get a comet and noctilucent cloud, I thought it were quite interesting. I must confess, with this image, it is a single image. The comet and the cloud was captured at the same time, but I've done a bit of jiggery pokery, and I've actually removed a telephone wire that was running through centre image. But the image is genuine, taken at the same time. Next one, please, Paul. This is Mars with my Mach 127 when I had it. I think I used either a 2x or a 4x Barlow as well with the DMK31. I'm not quite sure how I coloured it, because the DMK31 is a monochrome camera, so I'm a little bit confused at that. I can't even remember colouring it either, to be honest, so I don't know what I've done there. But I've tried to make the colours as Mars would appear. And that's it from me, Paul. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Tom Wade. Can the club room unmute themselves, please? Hello, club room.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Okay. Are we ready, Tom?
Yeah, fine. Right, so this is my first ever attempt at a deep sky object. So I bought a lot of kit over lockdown and spent a long time learning how to use it, and this is the first proper attempt, really. So Andromeda Galaxy, so it's a Skywatcher ED80, an EQ6R, a one-shot colour. I'm quite chuffed, to be honest. I never thought I'd ever get to anything like that from my background in Swinton, but anyway, that's where we are. About 70 subs, I think it is, 120 seconds. I must admit, I've spent more time on YouTube trying to extract information on how to do this. It's a never-ending learning process. I quite like Rachel's telling me how you split the channels on this camera, so I've got exactly the same camera. But that's a different thing. Next one then. This is a single shot of the moon with a Fuji X-T3, just using a Fuji telephoto lens. Then I've taken it into Photoshop, and I saw an interesting article on how you can bring the colours out. So it's taken to Photoshop and blended in layers to bring the colours out. That's it, Paul. I think I can't say much about that. This is, I got up one morning, this was in the sky, and I just thought it would make an interesting photograph. So it's taken through the proper scope, but still with a Fuji X-T3. So it's just a single frame processed in Photoshop, just to show a daylight crescent. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. And finally, staying with the club room, Roy Gunson, are we ready, sir?
Yeah, I'm still here. Jupiter. This is from from the Hobart stand. I've got the red spot on that one. There's not a lot else, it's just Jupiter. There's some detail of, I think.
Sorry, Roy, do you want me to go back?
No, it's okay, keep going, keep going. Copernicus, this is taken, I think, from home on my Mac 127. I may be right, may be wrong. Yes, Celestron Nexstar 127, ZWO 120C camera. As it says there, stack of 50% stack of 800 fret. I like Copernicus. It really is a spectacular object, especially when it's near the Terminator. And then similar shot to what Mick took, again, a 127 Mac Celestron Nexstar, again the same camera, ZW120. For a 5-inch scope, I've got some nice detail on Mars, and we can see an ice cap, which I was quite pleased with. And that's my lot.
Okay. Well, once again, thank you for all our members for putting in their images. And we better let you vote. Without further ado, we will have the results of the non-members competition, and the winner is Rachael Wood. Congratulations, Rachel.
Thank you.
So,
congratulations.
Congratulations.
A few words, Rachel.
Sorry, I was replying to a message from John when I read it. Well, no, just thank you. I know my style is a little bit quick and less natural than everyone else's, so I really appreciate you guys for liking them so much. And there were some really lovely images, so thank you.
And I hope that I hope you continue. We'll have questions and answers after this, and anybody who wants to ask Rachel anything, and any of the other competitors, I'm sure they'll be too willing to share their expertise. And of course, what we're all really interested in, and who gets bragging rights for the next year, and it's a dead heat between Tom Wade and John Leach. So, gentlemen, well done. So I'm not going to toss a coin or anything like that. That's how it stands. And you can have this year's bragging rights. And
Tom.
And so we'll start off with Tom. Tom, would you like to say a few words from down in the club room?
Yeah, you're on.
All right. Well, thank you very much for voting. I appreciate it. Roy's just given me a cup, so I'll keep it for a few months and then give it to John. So yeah, thank you very much. I'm really pleased because it's a long journey for me, and I've spent most of lockdown trying to learn how to do deep sky astrophotography, and to achieve something I feel quite proud of. So I know I've got a lot more to learn, and hopefully would like to pick the brains of a few people who are members or non-members. So yeah, thank you very much. Very pleased.
Thank you, Tom. And John Leach.
Right, yeah, blown away. I've been so impressed by this group, and every meeting we've had. My photography, as everybody knows, is evolved around wildlife, fungi, bird photography in particular. So I'm really new to this, and I've learned so much from you guys. And hopefully the next time I enter this competition, I can actually use an image taken using the telescope. Yeah, really pleased, really pleased.
Thank you very much, Tom. Can I once again thank all our participants for taking the time to select 3 images and send them to me and put some details on. I hope you've all enjoyed this little bit of frivolity this evening, and hopefully we will be back on track with our usual competition in its usual format this time next year. Thank you very much, ladies and gents.